is Monday, December 3rd, 2018. My name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla up here in chilly Santa Fe with your update for the day. As the winter is kind of getting on, there have been committees that have been meeting with the legislature all summer and fall talking about a whole bunch of different issues. And as we get towards the legislative session, the beginning of it, a lot of these issues are now being formulated into pieces of legislation which committees are now listening to. And so I'd like to talk about two of those committees with you, and well, three of them, including one I'm going to be at tomorrow. So last week, at the end of last week, we had a meeting of the Water and Natural Resources Committee. 3 energy efficiency bills were discussed. The first would actually update the state's Energy Efficiency Act, which helps incentivize people to build more energy efficient buildings. There's a proposal for community solar. Right now it's a little harder to get solar if you don't have your own home, own your own home, and want to put solar powers on the top. So if you're in an apartment, in a mobile home complex, if you're in a historic neighborhood where you can't put solar powers on your building, this would create rules allowing for groups of people to get together and have these solar facilities and programs built and allow them to get that power back onto the grid with PNM or El Paso Electric or the big solar companies. The third thing was actually a proposal for a fee and dividend policy. You can look more about this up on Google, but it basically monetizes the problems with putting carbon out there. You know, climate change is real. Our carbon emissions are causing them. And so when you have fires, it costs money to put them out. When you have floods, insurance has to pay to replace people's homes. All those things cost money. And so what a fee and dividend system would do is actually put a monetary value on that and allow people to trade when they want to pollute, but they'd have to pay for it. And this is important both because climate change is real and we need to do something about it, and this is a capitalist way of doing it, but also it was actually presented to us by a bunch of high school students. And when the U.S. pulled out of the Paris Climate Treaty, a bunch of high school students sued the Trump administration saying, hey, we're going to be the ones dealing with this, not you. And so I thought that was really important. Today, we had a hearing with the New Mexico Finance Authority, which is our state bank. And a lot of this stuff is not sexy, right? But one of the bills, for instance, that we talk about is the yearly fund for water infrastructure around the state, a lot of times in rural areas, to help fund water transport systems, water storage systems, wastewater systems. These are really, really important to make sure that people have access to clean drinking water and that counties and cities can afford to do this in a really efficient way that doesn't overburden their taxpayers. And this organization does that. And it's one of the things you don't really hear about a lot, but it really probably affects more people at the day-to-day level than anything else. The last thing I want to talk about is tomorrow I will be making my last official presentation as a state representative before the Criminal Justice Interim Committee, and it will be about a bill that I am proposing to stop funding that New Mexico has for corporate prisons. So in the United States, about 23 states fund their prison systems entirely in the public sector, but there are many, including New Mexico, that use corporations and contract out prisoners to corporations. In fact, we do it more than anywhere else. Like 42 or 43% of our prisoners are housed in corporate prisons, and there's only one other state that's above 40, Montana, and most states are way below us. Now, why do I think this is a bad idea? Well, first off, when corporations get all that money, they don't save us any money. Study after study after study shows that it's either the same amount of money or costs a little bit more than the private sector. But that money is going into the bank accounts and the shareholders of these corporate prison companies, and these CEOs make millions of dollars every year. So where do they cut the money to keep the costs the same? They pay guards less. They hire less guards, they do less training, and because of that, they have higher recidivism. So when prisoners come out, they're a lot more likely to commit more crimes, which is bad for all of us, and then go back to jail. They're also likely to take some of that money and give it to politicians as campaign contributions who want things like higher sentences for nonviolent drug offenders and to put immigrants in jail, like the president. When the president got elected, the stocks for corporate prison companies soared. And it's a scam, right? Because these guys actually don't do as good a job in all sorts of ways. They cost us the same or more money. And then they advocate that we have higher jail time for stuff we don't need jail time for, or we put a bunch of immigrants in jail that don't need to be in jail. And so I will be presenting all this information tomorrow before the committee, and hopefully it gets an endorsement and that someone takes it up and we stop this really terrible process. So as always, thanks everybody very much for watching this. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns on these or any other issues, I'd be happy to answer them for you, and hope everyone's having a wonderful week. Thanks.